Welcome to the Vibrant Health Show, where I teach you high-level education about women's health and practical steps that you can apply right away to start regaining your vibrant health. Today, we're going to talk all about thyroid labs. I get so many questions about this. Feel free to ask questions as we go. I would love to answer any of those. As you jump on, tell me hi, tell me where you're from. I'm going to keep my question tab open, so we'll get started here in just a second. All right, so let's talk all things thyroid. So many people, especially in this group, have thyroid issues, right? But when I ask them what they've tested for their thyroid or what their values are, most people have no idea what they had tested, or they had things that were very basic tested, or you don't really understand what your results meant. You just said, oh, my doctor said it was off, or my doctor said it was normal, but you don't really understand that. I fully believe people should understand what's going on with their health and their healthcare. So I'm going to teach you in detail what I test for a thyroid lab, bare minimums at least, what things you ideally really should get tested, and what they mean. So if you have your own labs, go grab them, follow along. Let's really dive into this thing and teach you what those values mean and what you can do about them. So first thing I want to talk about when it comes to the thyroid is the fact that it's never just the thyroid, right? So many women have these symptoms. They're tired, they're bloated, they're gaining weight, their hair's falling out. And if you Google those symptoms, it almost always comes back that it's thyroid related, right? And that might be true, but the thyroid is very intricately connected to a couple of other things, including your adrenal glands and your hormones. It's actually what I call the women's health trifecta. I teach a masterclass on this twice a month. It is your thyroid, your hormones, and your adrenals. And the three of them talk to each other. And typically, you don't have one that's imbalanced without also having some issues in the other. Now, the biggest problem I run into is most people have had their thyroid tested. In fact, you might be sitting here right now on thyroid medication. But have you ever checked your hormones or your adrenal glands? Because if you haven't, you still don't have the full picture of what's going on with your thyroid, because they literally make up what's called your HPA axis. It's the way your brain talks to your thyroid, talks to your adrenals, talks to your hormones, and then talks right back up to your brain. They work together. So especially if you are the person who's on a thyroid medication and you don't feel any better, tell me if that's you. You're like, I'm on the medication, I did the things, and I still feel the exact same, right? I thought I was going to get on the medication and I thought the weight was going to fall off. I thought my hair was going to grow back. I thought I was going to feel amazing. And you didn't. And you're wondering why? Because you went back and they said, oh no, your TSH is normal. It looks like the medication's working. We don't know what's wrong. You must be stressed. You must be tired. You should just try and lose some weight. But they don't give you any legitimate reasons why you still feel that way. Tell me if that's ever happened to you, because it happens a lot. And the reason is they're not testing enough values, right? They're testing very minimal things and not getting you answers. So you're left struggling even if your TSH looks normal, right? Does that sound familiar? The other thing that I run into a lot, and tell me if this is you, is I'm going to teach you today the things that you should absolutely get run to see what's going on with your thyroid. And I'll have women who will go to their doctor and ask for these values. They'll say, can you test my antibodies? Can you test my P3 and P4? Can you test the things I'm about to teach you? And the doctor will say no, right? Or they'll say, oh, those values aren't significant. Those don't mean anything. As long as your TSH is normal, we don't have to check those other values. And I'm here to tell you, whether your TSH is normal or not, if you are still experiencing symptoms, if you still don't feel well, if you still know something's going on in your body, guess what? You absolutely need to check those other values, because you're missing vital pieces of information that make up your health puzzle. So if you've had that experience as well, I would love to help you get proper testing. I say this all the time. You'll probably hear me say it easily 100 times. Your doctor works for you, right? If you are not happy with the care they're providing you, it's okay to find another doctor, right? Like you need labs that are going to give you the answers to help you get well. This is your health on the line. Never be afraid to speak up and demand the healthcare that you deserve, because that's what it's all about, getting you vibrant health. So if that is you and you want help getting the right testing and you're frustrated with your doctors, I have links in the videos, I have links below to schedule a free call with my team. We offer free initial consultations with a member of my team, a highly trained doctor, to make sure that we're getting you the best tests, the most accurate testing, anything that you need to really find your health answers. So if you're frustrated, if you haven't got proper testing, please take advantage of that. That is the best place to start. Get on the call, get some individualized recommendations, and let's get you the testing that you need. So if you've heard that before and your doctor said, no, we don't test that, or we won't test that, peace, right? Bye-bye. Find somebody who will. You deserve vibrant health, and you need more answers to do that. So that is my favorite thing to help people with. Find answers, find the pieces, get detailed labs so we can figure out exactly why you're still struggling, so we can make the corrections needed specifically for you to get you well. And today we're going to start with thyroid. Now, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go into detail about hormones, about adrenals, about Epstein-Barr. I'm going to teach you guys all of the things that are important to look for when you're struggling with health issues. Today, we're going to start with thyroid, but make sure you tune in. We do a live show every Thursday at this time, and then the replay is available right after. So if you miss anything from today, we will be able to send out the replay over the next couple of days. But every Thursday, I'll have new topics. And you're really going to want to follow these next couple of weeks, because we're going to take a deep dive into what specifically you need to test to find your root cause answers. So let's get started with thyroid. So I already mentioned thyroid is part of a hierarchy, right? It's your women's health trifecta. There is more than one piece of that puzzle, including what I'm going to show you today, okay? I really want to just take today and talk about thyroid, but even just this, what I'm about to share with you, is not enough if you're really looking for your detailed answers. But at bare minimum, if you are someone who has a thyroid issue, if you are on thyroid medication, these are the bare minimum things you must demand to have tested so you have the complete puzzle. In fact, I'm actually going to show you a thyroid lab, one that I run pretty regularly. Let me pull this up with you guys. Make this bigger. Okay. So my standard, this is bare minimums of what we're going to test for your thyroid. I'm actually going to go through each of these markers individually and tell you why they're important, what they mean. So if you have your labs, follow along with me, pull them up, come back and watch the replay, because this is important information and it's going to make you understand why just checking your TSH is probably not enough if you are struggling with thyroid issues. So unfortunately, I'm not in control of the order that the lab presents these. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit because I want to go from the most important to the one that's more, the least valuable. That's probably not the right word, but the one that gets tested the most often, that has the least actual clinical significance. So I'm going to bounce around, but I'll make sure it's really clear what we're doing. Number one, let's start with where your normal doctor is going to start. They're going to check your TSH. For most of you, that is the only thing that they have checked for you, is your TSH. Now, TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. One of the first light bulb moments I need you to have today is that TSH is not a thyroid hormone. This is not a hormone produced by your thyroid. This is a pituitary hormone made in the brain that speaks to the thyroid when something's going on. Now, incredibly important to remember, your TSH and your thyroid responds to way more than just your thyroid hormones, okay? Your TSH and your thyroid respond to your cortisol. They respond to your estrogen. They respond to your progesterone. They respond to stress. So if your TSH is the only thing they check, and let's say it's off, you still don't know why, right? Is it actually my thyroid, or is it a stress response? Is it my adrenals? Is it my hormones? Just checking TSH does not tell you any of that, because it doesn't tell you actual thyroid function. It tells you that your body's responding to a stressor of some sort, right? So yes, it does mean something's wrong, but it doesn't tell you it's specifically your thyroid hormone. So if that's all you've had tested, you actually don't even know if it's your thyroid. It could be many other things that your TSH is responding to, because that's its job, to respond to stress in the internal environment. So TSH does have some significance. I always check it, but it is certainly not the only thing you test, nor is it the only thing you go on to determine if your labs are normal or not. Another thing I want to touch on briefly, and then I'll pull this back up, is the actual reference ranges, right? If you haven't heard this before, reference ranges on labs are laughable. Like they're horrible, because the way they're taken, they're called a reference range to the general population, which means the number that they choose as normal is a sampling of, let's say, 10,000 people over the last 2 years. They've taken that sample and they found where most people fall into these ranges, and they made that the standard range. Well, most people are sick. Most people are overweight. Most people are on medications, right? Most people are going to the doctor for these labs because they don't feel well. Do you want your numbers to be compared to a bunch of sick and tired and medicated people? Or do you want to know your ranges are where they should be for you to feel great and vibrant and have a healthy, well-rounded life? So even the reference ranges themselves, people will say, oh, my doctor said my TSH is the normal range. And you're like right on the high end, you're a 4. That's not normal. That's normal for a sick person, but that is not normal for what we want, which is vibrant health. So as I go through these, I'm also going to tell you where I would narrow those ranges. There's no way. We're not going all the way up to a 4.5. That needs to be way better. So also make sure you're looking at your labs in that sense. Are you really close to the bottom end? Are you really close to the high end? Ideally, a well-functioning body is nicely in the middle, not scraping the bottom or reaching right to the very top of the ranges. So being really careful too about doctors saying your labs are in normal range. Okay, but where in that range, right? I don't want to be the same as every other sick person. I want to be a healthy person. And those are two very different things in our day and age. So be careful about reference ranges. That's important to note. So TSH, not my favorite value to check. It's important. We always check it, but it's only telling you something's wrong. It's not telling you what's wrong. That is really important to know. Number 2 is free and total T4. And I'm going to teach you a little bit of science. I believe these shows, my Vibrant Health shows, will always have high-level education. I'm going to teach you things no one else is teaching you, and then the practical application. So I'm going to get a little sciencey. I'm going to teach you the same way that I teach doctors all around the country how to read these labs, because I think you deserve to know. So your thyroid primarily produces, it makes mostly T4 hormone. What's being made in your thyroid is about 90% T4, okay? All that means is T stands for thyroid and 4 stands for the amount of iodine molecules on that hormone. So this is a thyroid hormone with 4 iodine molecules. That's what T4 means, okay? Majority of that is produced in the thyroid, but T4 is actually more of a storage hormone. It's what's produced in the body, but then in the thyroid, but then it gets circulated out to the body where it gets converted to T3, which means the different areas of your body, like your gut, your liver, your adrenal glands, they take off one of those iodines and it goes from 4 iodines to 3 iodines. And T3 is actually the hormone our body uses to help burn fat, to help give you energy, to help grow your hair back. So the more important value for you to be looking for in your blood work is your T3 number, specifically your free T3. And oftentimes I see that that's not even checked. So you might have adequate T4. Your body might make a lot of T4 hormone, but if it can't convert to the active T3, you still feel horrible, but your TSH is normal, but your T4 is normal. So the doctor says you're fine, but you're not converting it. So at bare minimums, you demand TSH, T4, and T3. Those are the most basic things you need to check to know what's going on with your thyroid. And even then, most of you haven't even had that checked. So just to recap, our TSH is a pituitary hormone. It talks to the thyroid to tell it if something's wrong in the body, but all it's saying is something's wrong. You don't know what's wrong. The thyroid makes mostly T4 hormone, which is more of the storage hormone. Our body doesn't use that as effectively, but it does circulate it through the bloodstream to different areas where the body then converts it from storage T4 to active T3. And the active T3 is what makes you feel better. It's what makes your body work better. That's the one we really want. So we need to know at bare minimums, is something wrong with TSH? Are you making enough T4? And is your body converting it into T3? Now, here's another side note, and I will do an entire video on the different types of thyroid medications, but most synthetic hormone that you're taking for your thyroid, Synthroid, levothyroxine, the generic versions of those, most of those are only T4, okay? They don't have T3 in them, which is another reason why you might be on a thyroid medication and not feel any better. What if you're only taking a bunch of T4, but your body still can't convert that to T3? Yeah, you're getting more storage hormone, but you can't make that into active hormone. No wonder you don't feel better, right? So especially if you're on thyroid medication, you don't feel better, make sure you're actually seeing that your T4 is converting to T3, or else you might be taking a medication that's not really working for you. That's why we need more values. That's why we need more numbers. There's so many things we learn from each of these values. So tell me if this is helpful. I know it's a lot of information. Watch it back, listen to it a couple of times, but you need to understand what you're asking for because this is your health, right? You are the one at stake, and we need to know what these values look like. So TSH, it's all right. We look at it, but we don't base everything on that. T4 is your body making enough hormone inside the thyroid, and T3 is your body converting your storage hormone to your active hormone. Those are three of the most important things to check. The next things we're going to check go a little bit deeper, because a lot of people who think they just have a thyroid issue, it actually is an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's. Now, I know more people are getting aware of this and more people are finding out they have it. But when I first started checking these things, rarely did somebody know they had Hashimoto's. They've been on thyroid medication for 20 years. They're not feeling any better. And they had no idea the whole time it wasn't just hypothyroid. It was actually an autoimmune issue. And the only way you know that is by checking your thyroid antibodies. Now, you can do an ultrasound, you can do a biopsy, but rarely are they going to start there. So the first place to start looking to see if you have the autoimmune version is by looking at your thyroid antibodies, which are thyroid peroxidase, also known as TPO, thyroid peroxidase antibody, and then your thyroglobulin antibodies. Those are the two that are showing you if this is an autoimmune response or a just traditional hypothyroid. The reason that is so important to know is because the way that you manage a hypothyroid situation and the way that you manage an autoimmune situation are very different. That is worth a repeat. They are different. If you know that you have antibodies and you have Hashimoto's, but the same exact thing is being done, like all you're on is Synthroid or Levo or a thyroid medication, and they haven't done anything else to address the immune system piece, that's not okay, right? Hashimoto's is not the same thing as hypothyroid. Hypothyroid is just your body not making enough hormone. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune issue, which means you have to find the root cause trigger of the immune issue. And the number one cause of Hashimoto's is a reactivated chronic Epstein-Barr infection. Epstein-Barr is the number one cause of Hashimoto's. So if you know you have Hashimoto's and you haven't been checked for Epstein-Barr, you absolutely have to. If you're on a thyroid medication and you've never been checked for your thyroid antibodies, you immediately need to ask for that because it makes a very big difference. So let me recap that again. General hypothyroid is just your body, your T4 or T3 are low and your TSH is off, but you have no antibodies. Hashimoto's is the autoimmune issue, and you can still have your TSH and your hormones that are off, but the most important thing in this one is that one or both of those antibodies will be elevated, signaling that it's an immune system issue. And if you know you have an immune system issue, the next step is to figure out what the root cause of that is. What caused your immune system to start making those antibodies in the first place? And for most people, it is some type of chronic infection, with the most prevalent one being Epstein-Barr, but it could also be a bacterial infection in the gut. It could be parasites. It could be mold. There are other potentials to investigate, but Epstein-Barr is the #1 known cause of Hashimoto's of the thyroid. So just be really certain, grab your labs, look at them. Have they checked your antibodies? Were they elevated? Were they normal? That's something every single person needs to know because it will change the way that you approach the situation. So much information. Hope you're following along. I'll come back and answer questions here, and I'll also come back and answer any questions on the replay. So if you have them, please put them in the comments and I'll make sure I get back to those with you guys. All right. Lastly, and then I'll talk about a couple ones that I checked just for my own preference, but this top one, reverse T3. Please, please, please ask that they check your reverse T3. The body is so smart. It has ways to protect you, and reverse T3 is one of those. If there's a lot of stress, inflammation, infections, which, listen, ladies, tell me who's not stressed, who doesn't feel like they have inflammation, right? It happens so often. The body will protect you from adding more stress. So reverse T3 is actually a protective mechanism. So I already taught you that T4 is made in the thyroid, and then it gets converted to T3, the active hormone in the body. Well, if you have an infection or inflammation or something that the body doesn't want to make worse, it actually doesn't want to give you more energy. It's like when you're sick, right? Your body wants to slow down and rest. Well, if you have a chronic infection or inflammation or other imbalances in the body wants you to rest to heal. So you know what it will do? It will start taking your T4 hormone, and instead of making it to active T3 that gives you energy, it will start storing it over here in reverse T3 so that you can't use it. So if your reverse T3 is elevated, that's a really good sign that you have some type of infection, inflammation, something going on in the body, but they rarely check for this. And you know what's interesting is your TSH, T4, and T3 can all look normal, but if your reverse T3 is elevated, you know there's a problem. And typically it has more to do with stressors, physical stressors in the body. This is one of the values that has given me the most aha moments with people. Like they couldn't figure it out, didn't know what was wrong. Labs kept coming back normal. Antibodies are normal. Things are normal. And we check reverse T3 and it's elevated. It's like nope, there it is. There's a problem. Let's figure out what your body is trying to protect you from. That's the question, right? Reverse T3 is a protection mechanism. It's trying to protect you so that inflammation or infection or stressors don't spread through the body. So it is such a valuable number. If that comes back elevated, we know we've got to keep searching for the cause. But if you never test it, you have no idea. You can miss such beautiful information about your body just from a lack of testing. The most important thing I can offer you guys today is proper testing. There's nothing better than making sure you're checking all of the things that could be the root cause, including a full thyroid panel, including Epstein-Barr virus, checking your gut microbiome, checking your hormones, checking your adrenals. The reason you're struggling, if you still have health symptoms, if you still have a health issue, it's from a lack of investigation. It's from a lack of finding your true root cause answers. And the best way, the only way to start figuring out what that is get proper testing. I will say that till I'm blue in the face. It's what saved my life. I'm certain of it. I was so sick for so many years and everything, all my general blood work kept coming back normal. It wasn't until I got proper testing that I uncovered my hormone imbalance, my Epstein-Barr virus infection. I had 29 food allergies I didn't know about. But I would have never known those things had I have not got better testing. If I would have just listened to the doctors who were telling me my labs were normal, I would have spent the next 20 years of my life sick, but I refused to let that be my story. And I kept searching and testing. And I found my answers. I worked on them, I balanced them, and now I don't have those same chronic issues. But the best place to start is always with proper testing. So if you want proper testing, you can comment below testing. There are links to schedule those free discovery calls where we can get the right testing in your hands. Send me a message, put a comment down here. We will reach out to you. We'll make sure that you get the links to get the right testing, because there's nothing better you can do for your health than find your root cause answers. That way you can be doing only the things your body needs, not trying a bunch of stuff, wasting a bunch of time, wasting a bunch of money, when maybe it's not the right thing for you. It is always the best to start with detailed testing so you can have an individualized plan to truly get the results that you're looking for. And a full, complete thyroid panel is one of the things, if you have a thyroid imbalance, you need all of the pieces of your puzzle. So please either schedule one of those free discovery calls or put a comment down below and we'll reach out and make sure you get coordinated. But testing is what you're missing. I am certain of that. If you are struggling, you are missing the right investigation, which comes from testing. Now, last two values. I know I've given you a ton of information today, but I hope this is helpful. I love teaching and I love getting people to understand what's going on in their body. So the last two are things I look at for myself, which is a T uptake and a percent thyroid uptake. This shows me more about how well you're actually binding, absorbing, using your hormone, because sometimes you feel crummy and your numbers are off, not because your thyroid's out of balance. Maybe you're not absorbing it in your cells. Maybe your body's not using your hormone properly. Maybe there's things blocking you from being able to properly assimilate and absorb the hormone that's being made. And those give me some idea on if that is the issue. So to go back down the list, reverse T3 shows that there's stress or something in the body that your thyroid is trying to protect you from. Your free T3 is your active hormone. We need to know if your body's converting the hormone you have into the active one that makes you heal better and feel better. Your percent uptake and your T uptake show if your body's blocking you from using your hormone effectively. Your free and total T4 are checking to see, are you making enough hormone? Is your thyroid even making enough thyroid hormone? That's the one value that shows that, free and total. That is the only thing that your generic thyroid medications are helping. So if you're on a thyroid medication and you don't feel better, it's because it doesn't really help any of these other numbers other than T4. Your problem might be in one of these other values, and that's why you're still struggling. Your TSH is just telling us something's wrong, but it's not telling you what. It's just saying, hey, something's off in the body that requires further investigation. And then your thyroid peroxidase and your thyroglobulin antibodies are checking for the autoimmune version of a thyroid issue, which is called Hashimoto's. And that, my friends, is at a bare minimum what needs to be checked to see what's going on with your thyroid. Now, in addition to that, if it's a thyroid issue, you need to check your adrenals and your hormones. And then if it's an immune system issue, you need to find those immune triggers. So at bare minimums, we check those, but there's lots of other things over the next few weeks. I'm going to teach you. Next week, I'm going to talk all about adrenals, because every busy, stressed out woman who's doing all the things needs to know how to properly balance and manage her adrenal glands. And then we'll talk hormones, Epstein-Barr. I have so much good content coming live for you guys every Thursday. Don't miss it. If you want to rewatch this or you just caught the end, we'll have the ability to get the replay link here over the next couple of days. But please put a reminder on your calendar, set notifications that you know when I go live so you don't miss any of this valuable information, because in fact, this is your life, your body, your health. You deserve to have the education and the knowledge to make the best decisions. So I love to teach you that at a high level and then give you practical application moving forward. My practical application for today is get better testing. Make sure at bare minimums that you have had that full and complete thyroid lab tested. Ask your doctor to run it. If they say no, come right back here, drop me a comment. I will get you the requisition to get all of those labs run. The most important thing is that you get the information that you need. So go ahead and get that done. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you learned some stuff today. Put your questions in the comments. I'll come back and answer all of those for you, either live or on the replay. And then I will see you next week, and we'll take a deep dive into your adrenal function.